What would you do if the one space that brought you peace, your room, was suddenly taken over without warning? And worse, what if your own father supported the person who did it? That's exactly what happened to me when my stepsister moved in and completely erased everything that reminded me of my late mother. But what they didn't know is, I had a secret. A truth they never expected me to uncover. What did I find, and how did it change everything in our home forever? Watch the full video to find out. It gave me peace, especially after everything that had changed in my life, especially after Dad remarried. But then came the small things, my stepsister borrowing my books without asking, trying on my clothes, leaving her makeup scattered on my desk. She started referring to my room as our room even though I had made it clear I liked my space private. My protests were dismissed as being too sensitive. I brought it up to Dad once, but he brushed it off, saying we needed to learn how to live as a family now. Then one weekend, while I was away at my aunt's for 2 days, I came back to find my entire room transformed. My pale blue walls had been painted bright pink. My bookshelf was gone. My bedding, my curtains, even the posters on my wall, all of it replaced. The room I had poured years of memories into now looked like a glittery magazine cut out for someone else. Why did my dad let this happen without even talking to me? Was this just about a room, or was there something bigger they were trying to erase? I stormed into the living room, heart pounding, demanding an explanation. My stepsister didn't even look up from her phone. She casually said she thought I'd like the change and that my style was too dull anyway. I turned to my dad, expecting him to at least be surprised, to apologize. Instead, he told me I was overreacting, that it was just a room, and that my stepsister was only trying to make things better. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The same man who once helped me hang fairy lights in my room now stood there defending the girl who had ripped everything down. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to take in everything around me, everything that was no longer mine. The room was loud, cluttered with bright colors, and I could barely breathe in it. The scent of my mother was gone, replaced by floral spray and scented candles I never used. My photo frame was missing. I dug through the drawers, under the bed, nothing. It was like someone had tried to erase my existence. That night I cried silently, hugging my knees to my chest. I felt angry, betrayed, invisible. And it was in that silence that I decided enough was enough. What was the one secret I had kept hidden, the truth even they didn't know I knew, and how could I use it to finally make them listen? You see, ever since my stepmom and her daughter moved in, I had started noticing strange little things. The sudden arrival of expensive items, random calls Dad would take outside, a lot of tension and whispered conversations between him and my stepmom. But I never paid much attention. I was too busy trying to hold myself together. But now, everything clicked, and I started putting the pieces together. One night, months ago, I had overheard something. My stepmom was on the phone, late at night. I was walking down the hall when I heard her say, "He still doesn't know. Just a few more transfers and we'll be set." At the time, I didn't know what it meant. I assumed it was something unrelated. But now, with everything that had happened, I started digging. Quietly, carefully. I checked Dad's computer when he was out. I found emails, bank transfers, hidden credit card statements. I matched dates with purchases and realized my stepmother had been secretly draining money from his account into one of her own. Thousands of dollars, gone. Money that Dad thought was being spent on house expenses. Money that had been used for shopping sprees, salon visits, and gifts for my stepsister. I printed everything. I saved screenshots. I had proof. And for the first time, I felt like I had power. Would exposing the truth fix what they broke, or would it tear my entire family apart? And was I truly ready for what might happen next? I didn't confront them right away. I needed time to process what I had discovered. I felt a storm brewing inside me, not just anger, but sadness, confusion, even guilt. How did we get here? How did my home become a battlefield where I had to fight just to be seen? For the next few days, I acted normal. I cleaned up the chaos they created in my room as best I could. I gathered what was left of my things. My stepsister continued walking around the house like she owned it. My dad kept acting like everything was fine. But I was just waiting. Waiting for the right moment. I needed them all to feel the weight of what they had ignored. And that moment came on a Sunday afternoon. My dad was home, relaxing on the porch. My stepmother and stepsister were in the living room, laughing at something on TV. I walked in, printed folder in hand, and placed it right on the coffee table. At first, no one said anything. My stepmother looked at me, confused. My dad asked what it was. I told them to open it. And as they flipped through the documents, transaction logs, emails, screenshots of messages, the room changed. My dad's face went pale. My stepmother's hands started shaking. My stepsister looked from one to the other, clearly unaware of what was going on. Would they try to deny it, or was this finally the moment the truth would crush the lies they'd built together? My dad didn't say a word for a long time. He sat back, staring at the folder. My stepmother tried to speak, started blaming it on confusion, said it was a misunderstanding. But the paper trail was clear. The account was in her name. The purchases were made for her and her daughter. My dad looked at her, heartbroken. Then he looked at me. I thought he'd be angry, maybe even defensive. But he just said one thing: "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I told him I didn't think he would believe me. That every time I brought up anything, he dismissed me. That I had become invisible the day he let them walk over everything my mother left behind. The next few days were filled with tension. My dad didn't speak much. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He just quietly asked my stepmother and stepsister to leave. It was surreal. My stepsister screamed and cried, said I ruined everything. My stepmother packed in silence, not looking me in the eyes. I stood by the door as they left, my hands cold, my heart racing. When the door closed, it felt like the first breath of fresh air I had taken in years. Now that they were gone, would things finally feel like home again? Or was the damage already too deep to fix? My dad apologized to me more times than I could count. He said he failed me. That he let someone else blind him to what I needed. He told me he thought he was doing what was best, but he forgot to ask what I wanted. I didn't forgive him instantly. I needed time. But I could see he was trying. For the first time in years, we sat down and talked. About Mom. About how hard it was for both of us after she passed. How lost he felt. How desperate he was to bring some normal back into our lives. And how badly that backfired. We repainted my room together. Not the pale blue I had before. A new color. One I chose just for me. We put my bookshelf back. Found the photo frame of my mom that had been tossed in a box. We brought her back into the space that once felt haunted. I started journaling again. Reading at night. Listening to my music without feeling like I had to turn it down. And I finally felt like I could breathe again. But just as life started to calm, what unexpected knock came next, and how did it change everything all over again? It had been about 2 months since they moved out. The house was quiet but peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could walk around without holding my breath. My dad and I still had a lot to work through, but things were getting better. Then one afternoon, just as I was watering the small plant I kept by the window, the one Mom had given me before she passed, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I assumed it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, my stepsister was standing there. Alone. No bags. No shouting. Just her, looking different. She didn't look angry this time. She looked lost. She asked if she could come in and talk. I was hesitant, but I let her. We sat in the same room where the confrontation had happened weeks ago. The silence between us was heavy. And then she spoke. She said she was sorry. That she didn't realize how much damage she had caused. That for her, it was just a room. She said she never thought about how it was the only thing I had left that reminded me of my mom. She told me that after they left, things weren't as perfect as she thought they'd be. That her mother had turned cold, distant, and that she realized the entire time she had been used as a tool to win over my dad. Could this be genuine remorse, or another manipulation attempt? Should I accept her apology or protect my peace? She said she understood if I never wanted to speak to her again. She didn't ask to come back. She just wanted me to know she finally saw things clearly. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me felt relief hearing those words. Another part wanted to scream, "Why now?" After she left, I sat for a long time with that question. I replayed everything she'd done, the mocking, the disrespect, the laughter when I cried about my room. Could a few words really erase that? I didn't have the answer. A few days later, my dad and I were having dinner when he brought up something unexpected. He told me that my stepmother had filed for alimony. That she was claiming emotional distress and financial dependence. My jaw dropped. After everything she had taken, now she wanted more? He said his lawyer was confident, especially with the evidence I had provided, but the process was going to be messy. I could see the stress in his eyes. For the first time, he admitted he had been naive. That he had invited someone into our lives who never saw this house as a family, only as an opportunity. Would this legal battle dig up everything I had tried so hard to bury, and how far was she willing to go to get what she wanted? I could see the toll it was taking on my dad. I tried to be supportive, but I also needed to protect my space. So I spent more time in my room. I lit candles. I wrote. I reread old letters from Mom. I even began turning her recipes into a small digital book, something just for me. It helped me stay grounded. It helped me remember who I was before all of this happened. Then something strange happened. I started getting messages on social media from people who used to know my stepmother. Some were kind, others curious, a few even warned me. They said she had done similar things before, with other men, other families. That she had a pattern. One woman told me she lost her home because of her. My heart dropped. I realized we weren't the first. And maybe we wouldn't have been the last. Just when I thought the truth was finally out, something even more shocking came to light, and that story is one you don't want to miss. If this video kept you watching, wait until you see what happened next. Tap on the next video now, because the secrets only get deeper, and the twists are far from over. I'll see you there.